Good morning and welcome back to the Pennsylvania Hemp Summit. In a moment, we will start our session, An International Perspective, What We Can Learn from Hemp Abroad. But first, I'd like to take a moment to give a word from our sponsors. Please enjoy this short video.
From ag markets to marketing strategies, Lancaster Farming has all the answers for you and your business. Depend on the award-winning team of journalists at Lancaster Farming to report on timely agricultural news, including the latest policy and technology developments in the mid-Atlantic hemp market from industry insiders and experts. Looking to grow your business? Lancaster Farming's marketing team has the tools, experience, and knowledge to help you attract new customers and drive the results you are looking for. Whether you're an investor, grower, processor, supplier, or distributor, find everything you need to take your business to the next level each week in Lancaster Farming. Subscribe today or connect with our marketing team at lancasterfarming.com.
Thank you to our partners at Lancaster Farming and our sponsors of this event for their support of the Pennsylvania Hemp Summit. As we get started here this morning, we'll have a one-question poll of the audience. You should see that on your screens now. Go ahead and take a second to answer the poll, and we will get started. Yesterday, we had the pleasure of hearing from Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, Secretary of Agriculture Russell Redding, Pennsylvania Senator Sharif Street, and many top experts in the industry. We were so happy to have them. Today will be nothing short of another outstanding lineup of speakers, and I'm very excited to get the day kicked off. And this morning, we will start with hearing from another expert of the industry. Joining us all the way from Alberta is Mr. Jan Slaski. Jan is a principal researcher responsible for managing hemp and cannabis portfolio at Innotech Alberta, Vegreville. During the last 18 years, he's been leading research aimed at the introduction and breeding of hemp varieties that suit the needs of the fiber and food industries on the prairies. Jan has also been conducting extensive studies focused on the development of best management practices, permitting sustainable hemp production under changing environmental conditions. To fully realize the potential residing within the cannabis crop and to assure whole crop utilization, Jan has assembled at Innotech Alberta a program offering solutions from seed to final product that includes 3 domains: breeding and agronomy, fiber and processing, and product development. Since 2012, Jan has been serving the hemp industry as a director of the Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. This morning, please submit your questions for Jan in the question and answer feature, and we will get to them at the end of the session. Go ahead, Jan.
Good morning. Again, greetings from snowy Alberta. It's very Christmassy here, so it's a dark morning. So thanks for inviting me, and thanks for putting me at 9:30 your time, not 7:30 my time. 7:30 my time. So today what I'm going to do, I will be talking about hemp in Canada, and I will share with you current status and outlook into the future, where we are going to be or planning on going. So before we start talking about what is happening next, I want to touch on the history of hemp in our country. So hemp arrived in Atlantic Canada in the beginning of 17th century, and it became a very popular crop on the prairies, Canadian prairies, for next 400, almost 400 years. So actually, Eastern Europe, primarily Eastern European settlers who came to the prairies, they were cultivating this. It was considered a staple crop in their old countries and both here on the Canadian prairies. And this situation lasted until 1938, when the Opium and Narcotic Drug Acts was imposed on the territory of North America, including Canada. The difference between Canada and US is that in 1998, here in Canada, hemp was this 60-year long ban on cultivation, processing, selling, and you name it, of industrial hemp was lifted. And we are observing during this last 23 years, revival of hemp as a crop, as a viable crop in the country. So look at this graph at the bottom of my slide. As I said, March 12, 1998, we started cultivating and working with hemp. And this graph shows changes or modifications in regulations with respect to industrial hemp. So same as in US, hemp is still a regulated crop. And as far as I can see, it will be regulated because of its properties, actually compounds that are, just as we know, just are in this plant. And look what happened between 98 and 2016. Pretty much nothing happened as far as regulations are concerned. So what I mean that this regulation set up by the federal Health Canada, which is responsible for regulating crop in the country, did nothing. So it means that these regulations were fairly stringent, and they were considered by many, including myself, as just like a situation that impedes the industry development. In 2016, Health Canada relaxed a bit regulations, and they relaxed these regulations. Why? Because for 10 years, we started in 2008, 2009, working with the regulator and indicating to them that hemp is not a niche crop, has great potential, and regulations have to be just relaxed to make this crop more viable for production in Canada. So it was good success, took 10 years. And I know that in the States, you guys also did lots of fantastic work in terms of pushing on the regulators. It took 10 years in Canada. The next milestone, if you will, was August 2 years ago, when Health Canada allowed for the first time in 20 years, allowed for harvesting of flowers, branches, and leaves in anticipation of whole crop utilization that was allowed in October 2 years ago, when new Cannabis Act was imposed or implemented in the country. This new Cannabis Act allowed for whole crop utilization. So prior to that, only grain and fiber could be collected and harvested and took from the field. And this new Cannabis Act also legalized recreational marijuana in the country, but this is a different story. I distinguish three major usage types of industrial hemp. First is grain type, the most popular here in Canada. Varieties with this usage type are short stature, high seed yield, and very low vegetative or fiber straw biomass. The second usage type is fiber or jewel type, tall and very tall plants. You can see my variety that is grown in here in the central Alberta, roughly 1995, 100 days frost-free period. So this crop grows really fast, really tall, produces a huge volume of straw for fiber extractions. seed yields of such varieties are typically lower, but not necessarily. Our variety offers just quite decent seed yield. And the third usage type that was the most popular in the U.S., however, it's not for time being is not popular in Canada, are CBD, or I call it dual purpose type varieties. Why? In Canada, we have, since grain type varieties predominate, we don't have truly high CBD varieties registered for cultivation in the country. So typically they are grain type varieties. And the other just difference between Canada and US is that our farmers for a long time collected chaff. Like this last 2 years, they were collecting chaff post grain harvest. We have, for time being, as of last growing season, we had only 2 varieties that were that had elevated levels of CBD. However, these were just like European, Italian, and Hungarian varieties, fiber type varieties that were very tall, and they were just really difficult to harvest and handle this varieties in the same way as you do in the States. They are also late maturing, and the other disadvantage is that they have very small flowers. So mind you, these varieties were bred for fiber, not for CBD. The good news is, and I will touch on it later in my talk, that for the next growing seasons, we'll be having some true CBD varieties registered. So what is our Canadian focus as far as industrial hemp is concerned? We are just treating hemp as a multi-purpose crop. Our industry is powered by a 4-cylinder engine. If you can imagine, just here we have 4 pistons, and each cylinder or each piston represents different opportunity that can be derived from the crop. So first, it's grain. For 20 years, since 1998, when we, as you remember, the hemp was legal for cultivation in Canada, our industry was powered by 1 cylinder only. So we're moving forward, but imagine that if you have only 1 cylinder firing, we were moving forward. So 4 or 5 years ago, the second cylinder kicked in, and it was hemp for fiber. We started developing fiber varieties that I already mentioned, and started getting fiber processing or decortication facilities. The third is the third cylinder that kicked in, as I said, 2 years ago. It's our cannabinoids or CBD or other cannabinoids that are now legal, can be legally harvested and extracted from industrial hemp. And the fourth cylinder, which is not firing yet, but we are just like at the cusp of doing so, is hemp as a livestock feed. I will touch on it later during my presentation. So as I said, hemp was legalized re-legalized in Canada in 1998. And here I'm presenting acres of our crop over the last 23 years. And you may notice that starting 10 years ago, roughly 2010, 2009, when we started working towards relaxation of this, well, oppressive, perhaps is not a right word, but stringent regulations, we started seeing increase in hemp acres. You might notice that in 2017 was a big spike. I will explain you why it happened. And you also might notice that some bars are just like a dark brown and some are light. Specifically, one is light. Until 2018, Health Canada, our regulator, reported licensed acres. So what farmers applied for cultivation before in spring. Starting in 2019, after the new Cannabis Act was introduced, Health Canada reports seeded acres. So that's the difference. So this bar 2019 would be higher if only licensed acres are reported. You might notice that in 2020 there is no bar. It doesn't mean that we didn't grow hemp in Canada. Simply, numbers of seeded acres are not available. Why? Because farmers, and I believe that there's quite a few farmers in the audience. So once we seed a crop, we are excited about having it, and very many Canadian farmers forget to report to Health Canada. This number will be available by the end of calendar year. Okay, so we have this acres, and we don't have 2020 acres. However, we have indications about state of the industry in 2020 based on the number of license and types of license that were issued. So I want to draw your attention that total number of license in 2020 increased by 43% from the previous year, from 2019, total number of acres. However, what is really important in the context of the previous slide is a number of cultivation acres that grew by 54%. So we got just like a more than half increase, over 50% in increase in cultivation acres. Keep this in mind. And I'm not going to dwell on this table, but I want to draw your attention to this two last lines, which is a processing license that were issued for processing seeds and derivatives. As I said, during the last 20 plus years, hemp was almost exclusively grown for grain. So therefore, we have a huge number of licenses that allowed for seed processing. We started getting licenses for processing derivatives that includes cannabinoids. But you might notice that a number of seed processor or grain processors are much higher than CBD or cannabinoids processors. So talking about cultivation license, this is a great illustration supporting my statement that hemp in Canada is a multi-purpose crop. Look at this pie chart. So you will see that grain, fiber, and flowers license issued for this three activities, cultivation activities, they predominate. And you might notice that the green part, which are flowering heads or hemp grown for CBD and other cannabinoids, it's the largest. This is somewhat misleading because when farmer applied for license, he or she could check off what are you growing for. Typically, they were checking off grain. Since the new opportunities, as I mentioned in my introductory slides, are present now in Canada, farmers just in case were checking off grain, fiber, flowering heads, and you name it. I know for a fact, talking and working with the growers, that this 847 cultivation license for flowers are just like it's an inflated number, because very many of them, as I said, they checked off just in case. But the point is that farmers were growing oftentimes hemp for more than one purpose, more than grain, more than fiber, and more than flowers. Typically, it was a combo. Hemp for grain and chaff, not for flowers, but for chaff, because it falls into this category. Hemp for grain and fiber, or I know quite a few growers here in Alberta for flowers and for fiber. You might notice that we have 163 certified seed growers who provide seeds to the growers. In Canada, we cannot grow seeds that farmers collected or just acquired or obtained from somewhere. our farmers are allowed only for cultivation or seeding of certified seeds, period. And we have 38 breeders or breeding license issued. Okay, so what do we do with all these seeds and fiber and cannabinoids that we are growing? We are exporting. Over 80% of Canadian hemp production is exported. And what we are exporting, this graph shows that predominantly it's our hemp seeds. Depends on the year, but in recent year, roughly 80% of Canadian export seeds account for 80% of Canadian export. Flour, oil, and protein, roughly 10-15% each. You may notice that I have category of fiber as not visible because export of fiber it's really just traces or just like a negligible numbers. Yet export happens. So where we are exporting Canadian hemp, USA is the major important of our products. Remember on my second slide, I was telling you that in 2017 was a big spike in cultivation acres in Canada. This was a reason or driven by phenomenal opportunity in 2016 where hemp grain or hemp seeds were exported to South Korea. It's, here, this red portion of this bar. That was 1 year window of opportunity. Farmers hope that this South Korean market will be opened for extended period of time. That's why acres spiked in 2017. It didn't happen. Korea found some other sources of hemp. We are exporting hemp to, again, US is a primary importer, and we are exporting to 33 countries. So speaking about US, what we are exporting to US, again, no surprise here, hemp seeds predominate with hemp oil and hemp protein account collectively for 15-20%. You might notice that this in recent years, this export oscillates or around 100 million Canadian dollars. I have figures for first 3 quarters of the current year, and we are expecting that again it will be in the neighborhood of $100 million. So this is what we do with hemp. Now I will tell you about our hemp industry. I will use example or just outcomes of recently conducted SWOT analysis. So let's start with strengths of Canadian hemp industry. We are just global leader in terms of production of hemp for food, for grain. We have this 23 years of experience. So our farmers, investors, growers, stakeholders, industry stakeholders are very knowledgeable and experienced compared to other jurisdictions, including USA. We are industry driven, industry focused, and there's a great entrepreneurial energy. So it is industry driven, extremely important. And the strength that I want you to remember, and if you just remember one thing from my presentation and what you want to learn from my today's presentation, we are treating, and I'm repeating this over and over, and I consider this as our strength, that hemp is a multi-purpose crop, and we are deriving value, revenue streams from this four opportunities as listed as this 4 cylinders in our engine. Weaknesses, still a small industry compared to staple crops, compared to canola, wheat, and barley. And we are still lacking of sustainable fundings for industry development. Opportunities, there is a great push in the recent years, both from the customers and the government, to use hemp as in sustainable products. So it's a great opportunity for fiber, and not only for fiber. I already mentioned that opportunities for multiple revenue streams derived from one crop. This is really a great opportunity, and I think that sooner or later, you guys will be just like considering capturing these opportunities as well. And this regulations or changes in positive changes in regulations that I was talking on my first slide stimulated investors' interest. Simply, they see that it's not stringently regulated as it used to be. Hence, they have less. Excuse me. They are prepared to invest money. Threats, of course, is still small industry and lack of awareness of customers. I said that those who are just like are aware of benefits of the crop and products derived from the crops are great proponents of it. However, we still have a problem that only less than 10% of Canadian households are using hemp-derived products. The other threat is foreign competition. Of course, USA-dominated cannabinoids market, and China and US, traditionally they were focusing on fiber. Now they are looking also into food markets. So these are just like strengths and opportunities. So we are still, we are very hopeful that hemp, despite the threats and weaknesses, it has tremendous potential to grow in the years to come. We developed such projections and we predict that by 2023, hemp in Canada will be $1 billion industry based on exports, export sales and domestic sales, investment of capital equipment. So by 2023, $1 billion $1 billion industry. By 2030, we are projecting $2.5 billion industry in Canada. So how to achieve this $1 billion? Again, by seizing the value of the whole plant, whole hemp plant. Again, firing on one engine, moving on one opportunity or revenue stream of this multi-purpose crop is not going to work. So that's why we are just seizing value of the entire crop. You may notice that I was using in my few recent slides, I was using I was telling you that we made these projections. Who are we? We are just like a Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance. As Kelly mentioned, I'm a director for last, I believe now 10 years, sitting on board of a Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, a national organization that fuels and allows for acceleration of this industry and development. So we are a national organization, and we are enabling here in the country the 4 market opportunities that I was talking about. We're established in 2003, and represent all stakeholders of hemp industry in Canada. Over 400 members, as I said, a very diverse membership from farmers to researchers to manufacturers to processors, you name it. So what are our top priorities for the upcoming years to get to this $1 billion mark in 3 years? First, we are creating a stable funding platform for industry development. How are we going to do it? We are establishing or working on getting or implementing or launching a checkoff system. It's a lengthy process because it has to be registered and approved by the federal government. We are just like hopefully for 2022, hopefully for 2021, we'll be getting checkouts. We'll be getting money for industry development from all sales of hemp and hemp products in Canada. The other top priority is to promote and support the research in priority areas. So what are our priority areas? National Hemp Variety Trial. Yesterday I listened to a presentation, a few presentations in the farming concurrent session, and I noticed that you were complaining or reporting that, just like a varieties bred in and grown successfully in Oregon don't perform well in Pennsylvania, and vice versa. To avoid such situation, we are just testing varieties, Canadian varieties, across locations from coast to coast. And our growers, our farmers have a good understanding which variety to choose for their given region, for the preferred usage type. The next top priority of CHTA, Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance, is heavy metal accumulation in grain and in flowers. Happens that I champion this. This project is extremely important. Accumulation or concentration of metals in grain and flowers can prevent selling this products on international market, and of course domestically. I also don't want to ingest heavy metals. Cadmium is the most important. The other research and priority is whole plant post-harvest management, and so that includes also flowers and for cannabinoids extraction and minor use pesticide program. We have around 20% of our acres are grown organically. Still, conventional acres prevail. We want to have a full set of tools for conventional growers, including herbicides and pesticides. The next priority is establishing of standards for the industry in all these four major areas. I will touch on standards momentarily. The priority number 4 is further influence of cannabis policies and regulations. We want to, just like relax or make this regulations, particularly related to cannabinoids, more user-friendly. And finally, the last priority that I want to mention today is establishing long-term international strategy. I was talking what we are doing, telling you what we are just doing in Canada, but there's several aspects that we need to related to industrial hemp that we see value and actually need to collaborate internationally, to develop policies and regulations that will be benefiting all jurisdictions in the world. Okay, so I mentioned that I will be talking quickly talking about standards. That is like one of our priorities. Food standards, as you know, just by now you should know that for the last 23 years we are just we mastered in Canada growing hemp for food. Yet we are still developing standards for toasted seeds, for oil, proteins, all these fractions of hemp grain that we are just like selling. Fiber standards are new, and they have to be developed because there is an urgent need. There's a list of standards with respect to fiber that we're working on. And let me tell you why. As you perhaps know, just you've heard that we are developing developed this seed to final product with the emphasis on fiber. And hemp fiber buyers 5 years ago, hey, Jan, do you have hemp fiber? I said, yes, we do have fiber that was processed in our facility. And now hemp buyers or just like entrepreneurs are coming with specific requirements. They know that hemp fiber, either hurd or bast, have different properties, and they are looking for different qualities, traits, and characteristics for their respective products. So it's extremely important to have standards developed in this area. Fractions, we call it fractions, so it's cannabinoids. We just started last year, so we have a subcommittee of CHD that works on it. Hemp breeding standards, again, very important. Why? Because we have currently in Canada 56 varieties registered. low THC varieties registered for commercial cultivation. As I mentioned before, farmers cannot grow and acquire purchased varieties that are not on the list issued by every year, amended list issued by the regulator. It's bad and good. It is good because we don't have problems with so-called hot fields. I read last week that Iowa was what 13% of crop had to be hemp crop had to be just like destroyed. Why? Because they were growing some genetics that was exceeded 0.3%. It is bad in a sense that we have, or in the past we had fairly limited access to high CBD varieties. But definitely, I consider this as a positive. Farmer know that his field doesn't have to be destroyed because of exceeding 0.3% of THC. And finally, feed standards. I mentioned that the fourth cylinder, the hemp for seed for livestock feed is, we just started developing. It is extremely important. And I want to tell you that we are developing the standards in Canada, but we are just like putting them forward for consideration of ASTM International, that they will be just like a standards that dominate or are applicable to internationally. And by the way, just recently I learned that ASTM headquarters are somewhere in Pennsylvania. I wonder if you know where headquarters of ASTM are. It's a very important international organization. So my last slide is on feed registration. It's a big deal. Why? Because right now, no hemp products can be, just like a fed to livestock or food-producing animals. No hemp products. Mind you, we are producing huge volumes of hemp seeds, and you have screenings, you have hulls, you have different fractions that right now legally cannot be fed to livestock animals. However, companion animals are exempt, and I have some smart farmers who told me, "Hey, Jan, my horse is my companion animal." No, it can be just like dogs, cats, birds, hamsters, and you name it. Horse is not your companion animal. So it's a big deal for a Canadian hemp industry. So we commenced process of registering hemp as a livestock feed with our regulator, Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And we already completed, just like a couple of weeks ago, the first phase of this registration process. As I said, we are just addressing hemp seeds for time being, hemp seeds only, 8 fractions of it, including whole seeds, screenings, and this other fractions that we are getting through processing as a result of processing, like hulls, like cake and shells. The next step, which we are just commencing as we speak, is development of an expert opinion on safety and efficacy that will include maximum inclusion rates, and for major livestock groups, dairy, beef, pigs, broilers, chicken, and you name it. And the third step will be submission of our application package to the regulator. And we hope that the entire process will be concluded, or farmers in a year and a half, our Canadian farmers will be deriving value from the fourth revenue stream, livestock hemp seeds for livestock feed. Next phase, after the seed are addressed as hemp feed, we are just aiming at getting registration of whole hemp plant as livestock feed. First of all, hemp grazing. I'm getting lots of questions. Hey, Jan, hemp grows really great in spring, just like here on the prairies, the first green stuff on the landscape. Can I feed them? Can I get my cows and let them graze it? No, you cannot. So it has to be registered and regulated according to our federal agency. The same is registration of hemp chaff and biomass screenings as livestock feed, and of course hemp and cannabis post-extraction mash. So when you extract cannabinoids, what to do with the resulting biomass. And I want to finish up this hemp feeding registration, and I want to just like orchestrate our collaboration with the Hemp Feed Coalition represented by Hunter. I know that Hunter was a presenter during this summit, and Ken now in Montana. We are sharing information regarding the process of feed registration in our countries. Hunter is sitting on our committee. Jennifer is sitting on a board of Hemp Feed Coalition. So to conclude, hemp in Canada, hemp industry is poised to grow because of this tangible opportunities. And in each of four opportunities or four cylinders, I see such opportunities. For food, unsaturated domestic market, as I said, less than 10% of Canadian households are using hemp products. New products are developed. There's a great. Our food processors are developing really attractive food products. Fiber, first commercial scale processing facilities we have here in Canada. We had for the last couple of years, 2 years. Acres contracted specifically for hemp for fiber fractions or cannabinoids. Hemp is a major CBD source. However, we didn't put all eggs in the CBD basket. So that's why our hemp industry in Canada is more resilient, and we are not hearing sad stories as my American friends told me about the guys who dominated or just like wanted to grow hemp only for CBD, and all problems that you discussed during the summit. And new genetics, we have first, I mentioned that this list of approved cultivars. So we get cherry blossom line feminized approved for 2021 and beyond. So we are seeing that it will be an injection of true high CBD varieties. Feed registration process is commenced, as I discussed. The other comment that I want to make based on what I've heard yesterday, we have a very robust agronomy package. My colleagues and I, over the years, we developed industrial hemp electronic guide or production manual. So questions that you were asking yourself yesterday, we have answers, particularly for grain and fiber production, and we are amending this document. It's a live document. We're amending with cultivation practices with respect to cannabinoids. I already mentioned that Health Canada, our regulatory body, started cooperating. They are introducing the smart regulations, not oppressive or regulations that are just like inhibiting or impeding hemp industry development. Kudos to our regulators who finally started understanding importance of this crop for Canadian industry. I was talking about involvement of industry in setting priorities for research and development. Actually, last week we concluded a survey of our hemp industry, and all industry stakeholders extended their priorities. Based on this, we'll just like we'll set up at the CHTA, Canadian Hemp Trade Alliance level priorities, and we will be executing projects that are truly relevant to industry. The second last conclusion, or just like a advantage, or just like what we see, why I see that the Canadian hemp industry will grow, is development of regional clusters or hemp industrial parks. I'm pleased to announce that a month ago, such industrial hemp industrial park is launched in our hometown in Vegreville, and we are having processors that are using different parts of hemp. So we are having fiber decorticators, we have just like CBD extractors, we have grain processors, and you name it. This residues from hemp can go from company to company. And finally, I want to end up that we have one national industrial organization that provides strong leadership and vision to the industry. It's an asset. And with that, thank you very much.
Jan, thank you very much. Thanks for the wonderful information this morning. I'm going to start with some of our attendees' questions because I think that there's a lot of value in answering some of these. First up, I'll start with a question from Karen Hunter. Is it possible to safely use contaminated hemp with heavy metals and hemp lime, hempcrete for construction
Yes.
without any chance of off-gassing?
No, that's a very good question. Thanks for this question. Absolutely. There is literature data that there is no problem using hemp that was grown on even contaminated, heavy metal contaminated soils. And hemp has this propensity. Why is it a problem? Because hemp has this propensity to extract heavy metals from soil, even not from contaminated soil. That's the major problem that people often don't understand. Where on pristine Canadian prairies you have heavy metal contamination in soil naturally occurring. If you're just, even if hemp is grown on post-industrial sites, and we are using for remediation of them, there's no problem. There's a European papers, literature showing that hemp that is found in heavy metals that are found in hemp straw or fiber are not released, and they don't change properties of biocomposites and materials. So no, it's embedded. The problems is in grain, because if it's a higher accumulation of and flowers, when you're just either just consuming or extracting cannabinoids or consuming grains, it's a problem. And we are addressing this, and it's I will be publishing data fairly soon.
Great, thank you. A follow-up question to that on the remediation side, what's done at the end of the season with the plants that are used for environmental remediation?
Absolutely. So for remediation, I recommend not to grow to a seed physiological maturity. So it's pretty much you're harvesting at flowering stage. So you don't have to take care of the grain portion of it, because as I said, grain is a great we call it sink for heavy metals. Getting straw harvested at early flowering, decorticating straw, and then straw can be used for industrial purposes. And mind you, this contamination, that's what I'm seeing in Canada. We are in this second year of the project. We're not seeing, I haven't had on truly heavy contaminated site. I will be having this coming spring, hemp grown on it. So I will evaluate concentrations. Right now, which is grown from moderately contaminated or with moderately elevated levels of heavy metals can be safely used can be safely incorporated in products. The other option is, and that this is what has been done elsewhere in Europe on extremely heavy contaminated sites, just biomass, hemp biomass with extracted heavy metals was simply used, was burned. So because you don't want to landfill and just release these metals or toxicants to the environment. So burning is another option, but it's very rare situations where you have really heavy, extremely heavy loads of metals.
Thank you. I'm going to break the moderator rules and do one more question since we've got so many good ones in the Q&A. This was a discussion that I'd heard quite a bit yesterday. Can hemp fiber based in building structural components such as flooring products or other construction products really become cost competitive with the existing products that are in the market? Is there anything that you've learned or observed from Canada or abroad?
Absolutely. So we have a good experience with hempcrete, and we are working with commercial size hempcrete manufacturers. If you're interested, please, I bet that you have my email address is available. I can provide you with specific information. For construction materials, building materials, again, at commercial scale, yes, it is. And we have a company or companies that I can share this economics of hemp versus classic or standard construction materials. And mind you, in addition to economics, we're talking also about benefits of carbon capture and locking CO2 for decades, locking substantial amounts of CO2 or carbon, broadly speaking. So in addition to monetary benefits, we are talking about great environmental benefits that eventually or soon here in Canada, and I bet in the States, homeowners will be also monetary benefiting from using environmentally friendly materials. Absolutely. So please, those who are just interested, drop me a line. I can share this specific information.
Excellent. That should be really valuable to a number of people that we've been discussing with today. Jan, I want to thank you for waking up early and joining us all the way live from Alberta, Canada. Folks, please join me in sending our gratitude to our speaker through utilizing the chat. Before we leave, I'd like to take a quick moment to just recognize our top level sponsors in this year's Pennsylvania Hemp Summit. Our partners at Lancaster Farming, our media partners, King's Agri-Seeds, the Pennsylvania Agricultural Business Development Center, and Air Products. Please also take a moment to fill out the survey for this session in the surveys tab. And don't forget to connect your business profile on this platform. We guarantee that others are looking for you and looking to connect. So just remember to maximize your networking through this platform that will be open for 30 days after the event. Following this session, we'll have a brief break and then start our first breakout sessions of the morning at 10:30. Thank you all for joining us this morning, and thank you again, Jan, for joining us from Alberta.
My pleasure. Good luck with your great presentation.